Hey there everybody, it's Adam Shiner here, and this video is going to be discussing Avengers Infinity War, the conspiracies behind Doctor Strange and what he's doing with all that. Now, in this video, let's start by discussing who's alive after the death, because after that big snapping of the finger and Thanos taking away half the universe, whoa, it's really important to really focus on who's alive and why they might be, because Doctor Strange's big plan was built. So, who's alive is the original Avengers, so Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, Hulk, Black Widow, War Machine, as well as Nebula, Rocket Raccoon, a few characters from Black Panther, and Wong possibly. Now we also possibly have Hawkeye and Ant-Man, and Captain Marvel will also possibly tie into this, which we'll discuss later in the film. So, starting off, Doctor Strange said on Titan that he's looked into the Time Stone and looked at various outcomes. 14,605,000 possible ways they could have done the battle, and only one worked, which is crazy slim chances, but it's still a chance, so let's get going on it. So we can believe that absolutely everything that Doctor Strange did was for the chance of winning against Thanos long term. So I believe that there's many things that Doctor Strange did specifically. First, we can think of it as a butterfly effect. Now a lot of people think, oh, Doctor Strange can't control what's going to happen in the future. He can only control his part of it. I believe that's true and false, which is that he can only control his part of it, but with the mentality of the butterfly effect, that a butterfly flapping its wings in one place of the world could start a hurricane in the other end of the world, kind of shows how Doctor Strange's specific and pinpoint accuracy level of actions that he does can inevitably affect everyone else's actions, which can lead to Thanos' eventual defeat in hope, and the fixing of this wrong that has been done with half the universe being wiped away. So let's keep that in mind as we see what Doctor Strange did. Now there's many things that Doctor Strange did specifically for this. Now I think many things that he did, first of all, with that vision that he had, was he left Tony Stark alive. He gave up the Time Stone for Tony Stark, even though he was specifically said beforehand that he wouldn't. Now I think the reason for this is that Tony Stark is needed. Tony Stark is going to be the main protagonist in this film, and is really going to be a crucial part to how to defeat Thanos and how to undo the things that have been done. I think another important character is going to be, from beating Thanos, is going to be Nebula. Nebula, Doctor Strange you could say he prolonged the battle so that Nebula could arrive and help out. And Nebula was also one of the people remaining alive. Now I think a reason for this is because Nebula has this big feud going on with Thanos. She is mad at him because he disassembled her and put her back together as a robot instead of a human. He basically slowly shifted her from a living being to more of a cyborg with a brain, which is crazy. And so Nebula has this long-term hatred for Thanos that is going to eventually lead to her probably having a revenge story within the next film as well. Although I think that Tony Stark's role is a bit more crucial than Nebula. My theories that I believe in are more so going to lean towards Tony Stark. However, there's multiple other theories that Nebula maybe is the cause that fixes everything with her revenge story to take care of this gauntlet. Now, the Infinity Gauntlet we see after he snapped his fingers at the end of the film looks rather destroyed and damaged, which leads me to believe that he won't be able to harness its power for the full energy of the Infinity Stones going into the next film, which would make it more believable that they can actually do something about it, because this guy just wiped out half the universe with a snap of his finger. How do they expect to defeat him? Well, it looks like they can, because he's not going to be able to do something like that again, because the gauntlet is damaged. So with that, when he snapped his fingers, we saw Thanos enter this orange realm with nothing but this pillar that looked very similar to a flashback we saw in the last film of Thanos with young Gamora. And the only person he's greeted by is young Gamora, who in this art rendering you can see, basically says to Thanos, what did it cost, going back on that sacrifice theme? And Thanos says it cost him everything. Now, there's many speculation on what this realm was, whether it was just a vision that he saw, I'm not talking about the person, or whether it was something more. I personally like the very left-wing theory that is it's unexpected, it's hard to believe, but I think it's cool, that Thanos actually died. Now let's take a second to think of that. Thanos died. What I believe this is that when Thanos snapped his fingers, he set the universe disappearing 50% at random. He didn't want it to be personal or specific. So he's purposefully left that randomized so that half the universe would be wiped out. I think that there's a chance that Thanos might have ended up being a part of that 50% that got wiped out. And maybe this vision that we're seeing of him and Gamora is actually his soul inside of the Soul Stone. Because I think that all the people who faded away with dust aren't actually dead. I think they're just trapped in the Soul Stone, and that's how they're going to undo the effects that are done, is harnessing the power of the Soul Stone to save everyone in a way. Now, I think that the Soul Stone, I think he doesn't stay dead at the end. We only see that vision, and then he goes back to like a regular world. I think what happened there is that the Soul Stone resurrected him, basically, and brought him back from the Soul Stone's realm, kind of to pay his debt that he had already paid by sacrificing innocent, weak Gamora to the stone. So with that debt being paid, I feel like he's not going to be able to harness the power of the Soul Stone, which would also further account for why he would be weaker and unable to use the full power of the Gauntlet in the next film. Now that's a very bizarre theory that I haven't heard a lot of people agreeing with, so you can believe what you want to believe, but I think that's a really cool theory that I wanted to address and discuss. Now, let's talk about Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel we saw a little thing that Nick Fury had that he used to kind of contact her at the end. It just showed the little symbol. It was almost like a distress signal beacon type button thing. I'm not sure how big of a part she's going to play. I think that she seems to be that she's going to play a lot bigger of a part, but I don't think she's going to play a huge part. I think it's more so going to be like calling in Superman or calling in the Hulk, to where it's not going to be a big plot character, but it's more so just going to be a strong fighter that is being called upon to help defeat a hard enemy. So I don't think she's going to really be a big plot character. I think she's just going to be more so like kind of some hired muscle for the next film, kind of like how Hulk has done in earlier films before he started getting some real backstory. Now heading onward to Ant-Man and Hawkeye. Now let's start off with Ant-Man and the Wasp. We're not really sure where they are right now, and we'll have this clarified, I believe, in July of 2018 is when their film comes out. I think it's going to take place before Infinity War and explain what happened to them during that time, as well as, well, I didn't say before, the Captain Marvel film will take place before Infinity War. It'll be kind of an origin story. But with them, I think a theory that might come true is I believe that one of them, probably Ant-Man, will fade to dust with the snapping of the gauntlet. Now, I think the reason why it might be Ant-Man is because that would really give them an opportunity to leave Wasp without Ant-Man as more of a solo, independent female lead going into this next Avengers film. So we can really build her as a character, because we haven't seen her build nearly as much as we have Ant-Man, and it'd be great to see her build. Now, I think that in the next Avengers Infinity War film, either one of two things are going to happen. Either one of them is going to turn the dust, or in the next film, they're going to come and help, and one of them is actually going to be killed. Now, my reasoning for this is that their powers are too similar, so we can't believe that they would put both of them on the Avengers because it'd be too repetitious. And with them already having multiple solo films, I don't know how big and detrimental of a character they are to really get another film. So logically, from a outside of the Marvel Universe business standpoint, we can probably expect that one of them are possibly going to get killed off or taken out of the series in some sort of way, to leave room for the other one becoming an Avenger or getting their own solo film. I believe that it might be Ant-Man who gets killed off if I had to side with one of them, so that they can leave room for the Wasp and have some more strong female leads in the Avengers and everywhere. But, you know, it could go both ways. And it could be that neither of them die. There's many different theories. These are just the ones that I more so side with and believe in. So believe what you want to believe. Really think this over and take it into your own view. Now on to Hawkeye. Now with Hawkeye, I love this picture. It shows a serious, painful esque of him, which is sadly how I think the next film is going to go. I believe that Hawkeye in the next film, how he's going to side up with the Avengers is that one or more members of his family are going to fade to dust. You gotta think with a 50% chance at least one of his 3 family members, with being his wife and his kids, are going to fade away. So I think that with that, I think his whole family is going to fade away, and this is going to leave him as a hardened, bad A fighter who's going to come into the next Avengers film to help the original Avengers in their big battle and in their big assault on Thanos to fix what has been done for the sake of their loved ones. And now, heading on to Rocket and Thor. I think the reason why Rocket Raccoon is alive, even though he's kind of feels more like a side character, it's not like he doesn't really feel like a get his own film type of guy. I think the reason why he's alive is that he's going to develop this further relationship with Thor that we saw start to develop in Infinity War, that are kind of going to bond them both over the loss of Groot. Now, the reason for this is, in the last film, Thor even understood Groot, and I think that these connections and Thor's understanding of Groot are really setting them up for a very cool thing that they've done in the comics, which is that Thor, I think, after the Infinity War films, is going to go off and become a Guardian of the Galaxy to replace Gamora. Now, there is only speculation on this. It could be otherwise. There could be something else going on. Thor could die in the next film. But I really am looking forward to seeing this relationship develop, and I'm hoping that Thor goes and joins them, because I feel like that's a very fun connection that could be made, and they could further play on that dispute and rivalry between Star-Lord and Thor being the manliest, which could be very fun to watch in the new film. However, it could be repetitious having 2 serious, stoic guys with Drax and Thor, so anything could happen with that. Onward to Hulk and Bruce Banner. I talked about this before with them in the films. Him not coming out, Hulk not showing up after that first battle due to his fear. So I'm really looking forward. I'm not sure what's going to happen here, but I'm really looking forward to them playing off of this and finally figuring out what's going on and really bringing Hulk back into this. Because, you know, we missed him. He's everybody's favorite. Hulk's cool. And we didn't get to see him enough in this last film. So I'm really looking forward to see where we go with that. Now, heading on to this dispute with Hulk and Iron Man, and Captain America. They still haven't even talked since Civil War. This dispute between them for multiple years. Now, I'm wondering how they're going to bring them back together in this film, and I think that this friendship between the two of them is going to be one of the most crucial points in this next film. Now, we know that Tony Stark is most likely the most important, if not one of the most important people to Doctor Strange's plan. Now, what I believe, this is my big master plan, I believe that Iron Man is going to use the Infinity Gauntlet or use the power of the stones to bring everybody back. Now, if we recall, the Soul Stone needed a sacrifice. And most people would say he might not even need the sacrifice because it was just to get the stone. I think he's going to need to sacrifice something he loves. Now, most people want to believe that it's going to be Pepper Potts, the love of his life, or maybe a possible kid. I know they played on that in the film. There was a little statement made about Stark imagining having a kid with her. There might actually be a kid. But what I really think is going to happen is that Pepper Potts is going to have faded away with the snap, and Tony Stark is going to have to sacrifice someone he loves, who deep down is one of his closest friends, Captain America. Now, this is going to be a very emotional thing, and a lot of people say, oh, that can't be right. They hate each other. Now, I feel like there was a tension between them that was left in Civil War, but Tony Stark still cares for Steve Rogers, and Steve Rogers still cares for Tony Stark. As we saw with this infamous flip phone that Steve Rogers gave to Tony Stark at the end of Civil War, which took place like 2 or 3 years, I believe, before Infinity War. Now, where that's really going to come in is We saw Tony Stark with this phone in Infinity War, which means that for 2 years he has had this thing on him, so he would always have the chance to contact Steve Rogers when he was ready, which means deep down, Tony Stark still dearly cared for Steve Rogers, for Captain America. So I think that him having to sacrifice Captain America is not only going to be a great way for them to reconnect this at the end, it's going to be a great way for Captain America to die. What's a more noble way to die than being sacrificed to bring back everyone you care about? And it's going to bring this nobility to Tony Stark having to sacrifice his best friend. Now, I think what's also going to happen is that Tony Stark is going to be killed while using the Infinity Gauntlet. And most people don't want to see them die, but I really truly believe that this entire film is a goodbye film. I believe that the majority, if not all, of the original Avengers, Black Widow, Captain, Iron Man, Hawkeye, Hulk, possibly Thor, I believe they're all going to die in this film. Now, from an out-of-film standpoint, you gotta admit the actors are getting older, they've been in a lot of films, a lot of them might be ready to move on, they have to shuffle in new people. But with an in-film standpoint, you know, they've run their course, they've fought their battle, and with them being alive, I think throughout the film, most of them, if not all of them, are going to die trying to defeat Thanos, and that when Tony Stark sacrifices himself to use the Infinity Gauntlet, it's only going to bring back the people that faded away with the snap, because they're trapped in the Soul Stone. Everyone else who dies separate from that actually die. So that's where I believe that's going to come in, and this is going to be a big goodbye film, which is a very emotional, heartfelt thing for us to hear and see, because we've been watching these back since, I believe, 2007, when Iron Man came out, and the first Hulk film came out with a different actor for Hulk. We don't really talk about that film much. It's gonna be painful to watch if that is true, but I think it's gonna be necessary for the movement of the world. Now, another theory is that Tony Stark does not die and becomes kind of the new Nick Fury, being the behind-the-scenes leader and organizer of the Avengers, which could be another cool way to do it. I think that if Tony Stark lives, he's going to do that, and he'll be taken off the Avengers team, so it still will make room for other heroes, because we have all these new heroes coming in, like Spider-Man and Doctor Strange and the Black Panther. There's so many new possibilities they have that these guys they have to move out of the way and make room for new talent, new spotlight, which is very emotional, but is what has to be done. Now, that's pretty much everything that we had to say, at least my main theories that I had. There's many more theories out there, so go ahead. If you want to know more about this, you guys can look it up yourself, research it. There's so many theories out there that you can find. They're always really fun to watch, so really figure it out for yourself and figure out what you think is going to happen next. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. Feel free to comment below or anywhere else, and just thanks for listening, guys. Thanks for watching.